All right. Cool. And then how do I get rid of that? Because we don't need that. Okay. Can everybody see that okay? Yep. Okay. And that works. Yay. Okay. So I'm Rachel, and I'm going to be talking about ADHD and intimacy, understanding the brain body connection for healthier relationships. Amen Clinic, I've been obsessed with for a hot minute anyway, so I was super excited to be able to speak for them. I've done it once before in November. Do I remember what I talked about? No. Something about intimacy, I think. Oh, convenient.
And everybody wanted to hear about ADHD.
And that's why I'm here. Thank you. Thank you. So, things about me. So, I've been a psychotherapist for over 7 years, almost 8 years in May, which is wild. I'm the owner of Sage Counseling and Wellness. If you've maybe seen us on socials or wherever, I'm an ASEX certified sex therapist. Basically, it is an absurd amount of hours and training and education and things to be certified and vetted. And you have to deal with exposure things. I was talking to John about it at some point. I don't remember when that was, but you were just like, oh, you went to Amsterdam and saw wild things? Cool. So great times. If you ever want to ask stories, I'm happy to share within HIPAA boundaries, of course. I work with ages 16 plus. So I love teens. I don't love the parents. So that's why I send all of that to other people. But past that, anxiety, boundaries, highly sensitive people, perfectionist, people pleasers tends to be a whole little trifecta group, if you guys have noticed that as well, which also tends to bring adult women with ADHD, high functioning autism. All of that tends to be a cute little quad group. So that's also why I'm here today talking about intimacy and ADHD. And I also do relationship counseling, very LGBTQ friendly, poly, kink, all the alphabet things. And I have a mainly virtual practice. I've got one associate. Her name is Julie. She specializes in perimenopause, menopause, life transitions, grief, trauma. She's a total badass. If you get a chance to chat with her, you're going to be obsessed with her too. But it's mainly a virtual practice. I have an office in Cumming in Vickery Village, if you guys happen to know where Vickery Village is. And then when it's warmer, I do outdoor walk and talk sessions, especially for people that are any kind of like neuro spicy. That's a really great way to just get some fresh air, and I get my steps in, and it's kind of win-win for everybody. Any questions on that before I just dive into all the good stuff you're here for? Solid? Cool. Okay. So why does ADHD impact intimacy? It's not just attention, as we know. It affects emotional regulation, sensory processing, executive functioning, impulse control. What else can you guys think of when you think about ADHD tied with intimacy? Anybody?
Object permanence. I always
Object permanence. Say more.
Yes. So, like, just like when babies learn object permanence, if you take the toy away, it still exists.
Mm-hmm.
People with ADHD struggle with that too. So if it's not at the front of their mind, it's not visual, often it can land in the background somewhere and they forget that it's even an option.
Absolutely.
So they can go through highs and lows of sexual activity and sexual interest.
Mm-hmm. And so with that said, it could be emotional intimacy, it could be physical intimacy, any kind of communication, connection. If it's not front burner, might not happen. So lovely mention. Anybody else have things you can think of with ADHD and intimacy? If not, no worries. You have a whole 45 minutes of me chatting away about it. So all good. Just keeping in mind that intimacy requires attention, presence, and communication, not to mention all the other things I'm going to talk about. So with the brain, therefore why we're at Amen Clinic, and I feel like it's important to talk about the brain. Also, small shout out. I don't know if it's a possibility for y'all to do tours after this, but it's literally right downstairs for Amen Clinic if you want to go see some really, really cool stuff about the brain and cool scans and meet clinical directors and all the lovely things they're doing downstairs. So if you have a moment to do after, please do. So with the brain and dopamine, low and variable dopamine affects motivation, desire, pleasure, consistency. What other things can you think of that might affect the brain with ADHD, dopamine? Anything you guys can think of? I love that, Joan.
Just
please.
Mood.
Mood, absolutely. Yeah, any kind of emotion regulation, absolutely. That's a big factor. Many with ADHD describe desire as interest-based and not spontaneous. And so I'll talk about different types of desire in just a moment. For many people, especially those with ADHD, desire depends on whether the brain finds the moment interesting enough to release the dopamine. So if it's the same position over and over and over, they're not going to be that tickled to be there. But I'm not saying also, go down the list and let it be what's the right word, a slot machine of like, what position are we doing today? Because then that's also a little too unpredictable for some people that are not neurospicy. So desire types. These are the main three. There's other types that might show up when you do a quick Google search, but spontaneous is when it's out of the blue. It's just, I am horny for no reason, must happen now. Often expected culturally in the media. It's just like, oh, it's going to happen now. Sounds lovely. Also keep in mind that a lot of male identifying individuals are more on that spontaneous side of things. It's not a guarantee. It's just they tend to be more on the spontaneous side. Responsive desire is when it builds after physical or emotional closeness begins. It's like I wasn't in the mood, but once we started, I was there. So that typically is more female identifying individuals. I love that everyone's, for those that are in the recording, there are many, from what I can tell, stereotyping on my end, female identifying individuals in this room, and they're all said yes. So with responsive desire, there's a cool tool. If I don't remember, be like, Rachel, what's the tool that I can talk about? Because it's really important in how to communicate that effectively. And then there's interest-based desire, where desire starts with curiosity or mental engagement. This sounds fun, intriguing, novel, exciting. The brain needs a hook before the body responds. So I think that's really important. So what are some things you might think of that are interest-based desire things? Anybody? It could be a absurd amount of things. Hi.
Sorry,
No, you're fine.
I don't know Georgia geography.
That's totally fine. No worries. The things I think about is I actually have a yes, no, maybe list I use with clients of things they might be interested in, of activities, certain acts, certain sensations that might be interesting to somebody. And sometimes they'll go through that list in session with me, and then they'll have that list to take home and be like, oh, I really thought that, I don't know, using candle wax smartly would be really exciting and engaging, and I want to try candle wax. So that might be something that they hadn't thought of before, but here we are. You would not, if there was a way to sit in my sessions, there is a lot of Amazon shopping that happens in my sessions of people being like, oh, wait, I can do what with what? All right. And so they'll be like, let me put my Amazon list, and they'll go ahead and put things in their cart.
It's front and center.
It's right there. Exactly. So that works out really well. Let's see, common ADHD intimacy patterns. You might start strong. It's a hyper focus on the honeymoon stage. Anyone that's neurospicy experience that in their relationships? Yeah. Okay. And then there's a sudden drop off. And it's like, oh, did I just fall out of love? Do I really like this person? There's some of that relationship questioning that kicks in, maybe. All rings a bell. Solid. There might be sensitivity to rejection, RSD. There's feeling overwhelmed by partner needs, because it might all be front and center when that person decides to share everything in that moment, when they decide to vent everything at once. I know I'm guilty of that. Difficulty initiating affection or sex, and forgetting to connect. Partner interprets as disinterest. So for those of you that are neurotypical, which is me, forgetting to connect, partner interprets as disinterest. Have you ever had that happen for you? Like you were in a neurotypical relationship, imbalance, if you will, and you were like, oh, this person doesn't like me anymore because they didn't send me the good morning text anymore. Yeah? Oh, yeah. Okay. I love that I'm not alone. That's good to hear. Emotion regulation and connection. There's heightened emotions, which leads to escalated fights. For anyone that's neurospicy, sound familiar? Of like when there's a fight, it's big. Yeah. Difficulty holding space when overstimulated. As someone that's highly sensitive, so an HSP, if you will, is that if I get overstimulated, forget it. It's not just like, oh, I don't want to deal with this. This is too much. No, it's like I am in emotional flooding or stonewalling. I am not in a headspace to have anything go into my brain anymore. I got nothing, whether it's a fight, intimacy, dealing with sweet, precious, hellion children, whatever it might be. That is like, do not try and have an actual conversation with me. It's not going to happen.
That's me all day.
Oh, hi, friend. With that, you can think of freeze and shutdown responses, like I just talked about, and which impacts trust and emotional safety. Does anybody else, maybe by a show of hands, experience stuff like that before? Overstimulation and yeah, you guys are my people. I'm so glad. So this is a tad small on here. I'm happy if you guys need it later on for me to send this out to you. Just remind me somehow. Gosh, I feel like a teacher pointing with this thing. So this is the window of tolerance. Has anybody learned about this before? Got a couple of nods and some not so many. Lovely. Okay, so quick rundown. Window of tolerance over here. For those of you that are in the recording, it's on your PowerPoint, so don't worry about this. Window of tolerance is when we feel grounded, present, adaptable, open, curious. We're feeling okay. We're safe. We're in a somewhat quote unquote normal experience of what's going on. If we're in sympathetic hyperarousal, we are feeling anxious, impulsive, hypervigilant, irritable, trouble with sleep and digestion. We're in the fight or flight response. Everyone somewhat aware of fight or flight is either we're going to fight a bear or we're going to run for our life from the lion. Yeah. Okay. And then there's parasympathetic hypoarousal, and when we might feel depressed, lethargic, withdrawn, isolated, again, trouble with sleep and digestion, and it's the freeze response. So the freeze response is the exact opposite. We're playing dead like a possum. Now, I don't think we're actually playing dead. If you are, we should talk. But with that is you are flooded. You're not in a good space. We are just surviving. So with that said, when we're overstimulated, you can be in one of those, hyperarousal or hypoarousal. The goal is to be able to get into that window without crashing into one of the others. So the gray line, you can see there's highs and lows in the day. That's still a normal human situation. If we had a robotic way of living, we wouldn't be human. So there's going to be highs and lows, yeah? But then there's the gold line, which is the unbalanced nervous system response that is crashing into the stratosphere and down low into splashdown. That is really intense. And if we're crashing into both ends of the spectrum here, if you will, is that we're not doing okay. And also keep in mind, if you're in any kind of come on, brain, nervous system response, trauma response, any of those things, you're not trying to get sexy. You're not going to have sexy time if you're fleeing from a lion. If you're fighting a bear, you're not going to be like, pause, I'm ready, right? Like, it's not going to happen. So it's just not going to happen. The same with freeze. Like, if you're curled up in a ball, you don't feel sexy. Like, don't touch me. I don't want that. So we want to find ways to get from hyper into the window or hypo into the window to be able to be ready for, if anything, is rest and digest, but also to be able to be intimate with your partner. Any questions on any of that monologue so far? Solid? Great. Also, so I know I'll be able to send it out, but if you are able to see that somehow and want to take a screenshot, you're welcome to. Anybody need a screenshot?
You're going to send us a slide, though, right?
I can send you the slide.
Oh, the slide.
Yeah.
But not all these slides.
Nah.
Okay. I'll take the slide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe just remind me at the end, Jessica. Solid. Okay. All right. Sensory profiles and sexual comfort. So overstimulation during intimacy, I mean, there's the five senses, yeah. It could be bright light. To me, that doesn't feel sexy right now. Don't try and approach me for intimacy if there's bright lights going on, right? If it's really loud, like my main HSP oversensitivity, overstimulation thing is sound. If it's too loud, if I think of like college parties back in the day of like, don't try and do something with me on the dance floor. I am surrounded like a sardine and is really loud thumping music. That's not doing anything for me. If it's a really strong smell, maybe it's a really strong cologne that the person's wearing. You're just like, ooh, don't do that with me. I don't want that. Smells, tastes, all sorts of things can be affecting. Also, keep in mind body odor. Please make sure you're hygienic, first of all, for any partners you're with. Understimulation, it could be boredom and disconnection. So with that, I mean, if it's the same position over and over and over, and it's the same routine of, right, well, I take off my shirt, he takes off his shirt, we do this, that we do this, and then there's a 5-minute interaction, and then we have to go shower. Yuck. Can we have a little bit more fun, a little bit more excitement, something like maybe kiss my back next time? I don't know, something that feels good. So importance of understanding individual sensory thresholds is important. But there's also something that I forgot to put in the slides, but I will make sure I do send you, something called the erotic blueprints. It's basically like the sexy version of the 5 love languages.
Oh, really?
It's lovely.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Lovely. So, Jessica, I'm just sending you so many things later. Enjoy. Yeah, you'll be good. So with that, I don't remember all of them off the top of my head, but there's different types of erotic blueprints for each thing. So like maybe one is the kinkies. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Anything that's outside of the quote unquote norm. There's ones that are into more sensual stuff, like they really love the foreplay and the kissing and the caressing. There's ones that are just the sexuals of where they just want like the intercourse, the genitalia, the basic media of intimacy. There's 2 other ones. One is like the shapeshifter that does all the things and loves all the things. And there's one other one that I can't remember for the life of me.
Energetic.
Thank you. Energetics. Thank you. Oh, well done. A+ student. So with energetics, can you read off what's on that slide real quick?
They love teasing, anticipation, blurry, often most likely to have a definition of sex outside the box.
Mm-hmm.
They should not define sex as purely physical, but more deep, intimate acts. Sorry, it's blurry.
And
No,
maybe
you're
like
fine.
Spiritual or something.
It could be,
Spiritual
yeah.
sex?
It could be like a tantra kind of thing. It could also just be.
What's a tantra?
That's a whole nother
Just
workshop.
Just a 50,000
Yeah.
foot definition.
Yeah. My understanding, keep in mind, I'm not specialized in tantra,
That's fine.
but with that, it's being able to have like eye gazing and facing towards each other and sitting and breathing, be able to like breathe to orgasm.
Energy.
Yeah.
That's
so
me.
energetics is like,
Yeah, that's me. Okay.
it's good shit.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I just don't know the language.
Oh.
I just do.
Well, here we are. But you know what you need and what you want, and you communicate it.
I do.
Beautiful. So keeping in mind that sensory needs can shift from moment to moment. I'm not saying be prepared for anything and on guard and hypervigilant of like, what's my partner going to do next? Are they going to do this? Are they going to do this? No, but just be prepared that they need a little something extra. Okay. Executive functioning and desire. Working memory will affect remembering date nights, flirting, initiating, task switching. I think, if anything, this is just my experience. Is anybody like a mom or a parent in this room? We got a few. Okay.
Only to my birds.
Totally counts. Yeah.
Thank you, because they are children.
They are. And so with that is going from caregiver mode to lover, caregiver to spouse, to whatever it might be, that task switching, mode switching can be challenging. I don't have ADHD that I know of. But with that, just with being a mom with 2 kids and being overstimulated often, that mode from mom to lover, mom to business owner, that takes a hot minute for me to adjust and take a breather and be like, okay, whew, I'm gonna deep breathe, take off that hat, put on this hat, and I'm gonna be able to switch things up a little bit. Yeah? Cool.
Gear shifter. I just said gear shifting.
Gear shifting. Yeah, that's a great visual. Absolutely. Rejection sensitivity dysphoria, also known as RSD. It shows up as taking sexual rejection personally, at least in intimacy, avoiding initiation to prevent possible no's. But I mean, also think of maybe whether you have RSD or not, that anytime that you make an initiation and you get a no from a lover, from a partner, that it hurts a little. You're just like, oh, well, that would have been cool if we did, but that's okay. But for RSD, it's like heightened. It's just like, this feels like end of the world stuff. They don't want me. They're done with the relationship. over apologizing, people pleasing, conflict avoidance, or explosive responses. All of that sounds somewhat familiar with clients you work with or people you actually are.
Also,
Hmm.
would it also be not saying no when you're not
Mm-hmm.
going along with it just
Mhm.
because?
Yeah, that's actually, it's fun that you mentioned that because I did a talk about midlife and intimacy a few weeks ago. And we were talking about how when perimenopause, menopause kicks in, that there's a whole thing of like, how do I politically say this? Um, they don't care anymore. Is the light way of saying that they have zero fucks if that feels more comfortable in your language of they have no desire. They're able to be aroused at some point, but it's not there. They don't want to. And then that's where some of that leads into traditional roles and expectations of, well, I'm supposed to as this type of partner. I'm supposed to because this is what my spouse said they wanted, and this is what I'm. All of those like rules and things, which is not fair. We don't want to just lay there and be rag dolls because then that's another conversation to have. So absolutely, people can do that too. Let's see. It helps normalize that it's neurological, it's not personal, but also you might want to say that more than just once to your partner of like, this is not about you. I am just not in this headspace right now. I still find you really sexy. It's not happening right now. ADHD and sexual desire. Desire can feel context dependent, inconsistent, impacted by medication timing. That is fascinating. I'd love, Joan, if you're open to sharing any thoughts about that.
A lot of us, or a lot of patients that are on stimulants, if it might be easier to get them interested in that activity sooner to when they took the medication than rather after a 12-hour day and they are just done.
Yeah, they're wiped out.
So
Absolutely.
it can be really, really hard. Or if you're trying for that person that's just like overwhelmed, if you're trying to initiate before they've woken up and taken their stimulant, that's also probably not the best time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. No, I appreciate your insight there.
And then
please.
This is going back like 20 years because I was on 50 drugs. Yeah, it was a little problem that they made. But so the man I was with didn't feel that he could, like drugs didn't allow him to be intimate.
And that's a common side effect. Not so much with the stimulants. In fact, we use stimulants sometimes to treat the side effects of antidepressants, like the sexual side effects. So stimulants can be your friend in this area. If the
nitric oxide can be too. Like he could just use a formula for nitric oxide production for blood flow.
I don't know.
That's my area.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No.
And another day. Right?
Another day.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm just saying there's options.
Definitely, there's options. Let's see. ADHD and medication and sex stimulants may impact, as you were talking about, arousal, libido, orgasm delay. It's often dose and timing related. Some tips: adjusting timing with the prescriber. Definitely don't just do it willy-nilly. Maybe talk to your provider first. Mindfulness and extended foreplay, that can help, especially if there's any responsive desire of like, if we have more foreplay, we're more likely to be excited and have arousal. Keep in mind that arousal is the physical response and desire is the more mental, emotional wanting. So anytime that someone's like, desire and arousal are the same thing, they're not. You can have absolutely no desire and still have a physical response to something that's being done. So grounding rituals, i.e. like deep breathing, lighting a candle, something that will help to just, I'm here for this moment, that some of that mode switching as well. Communication challenges can be interrupting, difficulty listening. I know that tends to happen with my sessions. I work with anybody that's neurospicy. Has anybody experienced that of the interrupting, difficulty listening, trying to get an edge in, or what's the word? A word edge in wise. Is that the phrase?
Worded edgewise.
Thank you. Phrasings are hard. But with that, it's especially interesting when there's any kind of couples I've worked with, because I work with couples as well, not just individuals, that I've had them have a little notepad next to them. And so ideally not a phone, because if they're on a phone taking notes and it looks like they're texting, and it's going to piss off the person trying to be heard and it's not going to go well. But a thing of pen and paper of just taking notes of like, oh, they said that thing. I'm going to put an actual visual kinesthetic pin in it. This is what I want to talk about after they're done. Or I'm trying to remember all the things they just said in a monologue of them venting, and I want to make sure they have their space, but I can't remember what they said 10 minutes ago. They have the pen and paper to take notes on that, and that goes really well. Forgetting important emotional details, trouble expressing needs, partners misinterpreting ADHD symptoms as disconnection. We've already mentioned that a bit earlier. Some things that I think about with communication, there's something called the 1-5-10, technically 1-5-9 according to Gottman method couples therapy. I feel like ending on a 9 feels weird, but it just does. 1-5-10. So if you're at a 1, you are just like, do not touch me. I'm overstimulated. I have no desire or arousal. Not happening, but I still find you really sexy and attractive. And I'm open to holding your hand. I'm open to spooning. I'm open to having an emotional, intimate conversation, but maybe not physical tonight. That I'm at a 1. A 5 is maybe if you do a little something, we can see what happens, and I'll let you know after a bit of foreplay and kissing and see how that goes. And then a 10 is, yes, please, drop trowel. I'll meet you in the bedroom in 5 minutes. Okay? So it's helpful, especially around kids. It's like, hey, I'm at a 5. Instead of being like, you want to do a little something? Your 3-year-old does not want to hear that. So it's nice to have a 1-5-10
But the pets
language. The birds don't mind. Absolutely. They're cool with that. So that can be a helpful tool. There's also some really great things of using I language of I feel this, I observe this, factual things of this is what happened, keeping it objective when stating facts. If you're using anything subjective, that is I language rather than you language. Because if it's I language, I experienced this compared to you did that, tell me you're not going to feel a bit differently, right? There's also a really helpful sentence equation of I fill in the emotion when fill in the situation happens, and I need blank. So an example, I feel frazzled when we're late for a dinner reservation, and I need for us to be on time, for us to enjoy our time together and have some quality time and connection, rather than I want to get to the restaurant early for happy hour to see the drink menu, right? That's a want, not a need. So keeping that in mind, that can be a helpful sentence equation. Questions on any of that so far? Feeling good? Sweet. Okay. Strengths ADHD bring to intimacy. Keep in mind, being neurospicy is also kind of like a superpower. So please don't think just because I have ADHD, ASD, any other of those fun acronyms, they're along some kind of spectrum of neurospicy. It does not mean that something's wrong. It's just that you have different strengths and different things of areas of growth. So with that, it can be creative, playful, high energy, novelty seeking, which can strengthen sexual variety, which is great if you're in an awkward like sexual slump. That's a great time to have an ADHD partner and be like, hey, you want to do something? You want to go to this? You want to do this? Let's try that. Deep connection during hyperfocus, and loyalty and intensity. When they love hard, in more ways than one. Anything you guys can think of that might be some examples from strengths that ADHD might bring?
Well, I'll just say that if you are neurospicy, that's a great term, that a lot of times judgment leaves the room, right? Mm-hmm. Like you're not judging because you're already out of the box.
Yep.
So there's openness, I would assume.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Especially when bringing up some novelty seeking things, trying something new. It's like, never done it. Why not? Let's go to the sex shop and find that thing you were talking about. Why not? So that can be wonderful, especially just any kind of communication. Mm-hmm. So that can be great. Anybody have any other thoughts?
That's what I always say my new superpower is I'm going to approach a situation from a completely different way, and people are going to be like, how did you even get to that point? Mm-hmm. But
absolutely,
that's what I say is my ADHD superpower is thinking of things in a different way.
Yeah.
It's actually a super muscle.
Mm-hmm.
Or superpower.
Yeah. I was at something called Frolicon. Are you guys aware of what Frolicon is? Okay, most no, some yes. Cool. Frolicon happens every year around May. It used to be at the Sheraton Hotel. I don't know what it's called now. It's in Atlanta.
It's the Cortland Grand.
The Cortland Grand. Yeah. And with that, it is like a hotel takeover of kinky sexual enthusiast. I'm talking thousands.
I'd be in another building.
It's amazing though. It's amazing. And the reason I say that is not just because I went for to learn fun new things for my relationship, but because from a sex therapy perspective, people that work with anyone that has sex at all, which is I think all of us in some way, shape, or form, that going there will be an amazing eye opener. You will have some really amazing workshops from people that have been in the field for decades. The reason I mentioned Frolicon, besides that it's just a fun, wild time to go, is that they did a quick workshop and they were taking a poll in the room of who all in here is neurospicy. I'm talking 95% in the room raised their hands. And so that's not just to be like, oh, it was ADHD. It was like any kind of anything along the way is what counts with neurospicy. But also that means that they are novelty seeking, playful, creative, whether that's BDSM, if that's trying a new toy, whatever it might be, that everyone there was like, we need more, not just this one traditional expectation in society. So keep that in mind with working with anybody with intimacy. Let's see, repairing intimacy starts with awareness. Is that ADHD is part of a relationship dynamic. It's not a character flaw. I know we just talked about it being a superpower. Having brain-based compassion, partners understanding each other's nervous systems, some of that window tolerance stuff that I talked about earlier, being able to check in, and if anything, having that window of tolerance in sessions. That's probably one of the first things I cover with every client I work with, is that let's calm your nervous system first before we even try and touch CBT, DBT, ACT, all those other fun acronyms. If we don't know our nervous system, we literally can't tune in and tune out the rest of the world. With that, shifting from try harder, which I hear often from partners that are neurotypical, is like, why don't they just try harder? Why don't they they're doing their best. They're working really hard. It's like, let's work with your brain. Let's figure out what works for you, what works for us, and go from there.
And we're already trying harder in every other area of our life to adapt and to fit in.
Absolutely. I mean, I think of everyone that masks, that they are exhausted if they're having to do any kind of presentations, if they're having to do anything that's with peopling at all. They have masked and learned, what is society wanting me to do and look like and say and experience and look like. And then they get home and they crash into that hypoarousal so quickly. They have no energy for anything else.
Interesting. That explains a lot.
Yeah.
Wow. That explains a lot of what I know.
Yay, good. Some practical strategies for couples. Oh, this is so small. Okay. Daily connection, 5-minute check-ins. That way it's not this long, hour-long conversation after you just got home. You hopefully had a moment to decompress and adjust and breathe. 5-minute check-in of like, hey, how we doing? Is there anything major you want to talk about later after you've had a chance to switch from this to this mode? Having predictable routines for affection, which can be nice. There's something called from Gottman Method Couples Therapy, the 6-second kiss. If you do a peck, that doesn't do a damn thing. You do that for your mom sometimes, right? But if it's a 6-second kiss, that there's research that helps to build intimacy and help hugs as well. A longer hug, that can be helpful, especially even for kids, right? Like if your kid just came home and is losing it and it's witching hour, which is my house every night, that if we do a really nice, just deep pressure hug and just like, okay, let's take a breather. We're at home. We're safe. We're not having to perform anymore at school. We're okay. That helps to rebuild that connection. So that can be lovely. It can also be maybe having kisses before work or a high five with somebody when they get home from work, whatever. It helps to have some kind of connection ritual. That can be nice. ADHD friendly intimacy rituals, having warm-up time before sex is not just foreplay. It can also be, depending on what you're open to, some people might be using erotic material to be able to watch things as long as it's consensual and we're aware and everyone's okay with those things. Having Having warm-up time could also be, I don't know, maybe especially if you're an energetic or a sensation erotic blueprint type, that maybe you need, I don't know, what would be nice. Ooh, okay. Maybe like I love a really nice cup of hot coffee in the morning. It warms up my body, warms up my system. I'd be more excited for some kind of intimate thing in the morning if I have a cup of coffee compared to having a smoothie. That's not gonna, I'm gonna be frigid. Literally. So with that, using timers, when I say timers, don't put a 30-minute timer and be like, we have to do all these things in 30 minutes. Now, if that's your thing and you turn into an experiment and a game show of sorts on your own, cool, go for it. But maybe it's a timer of like, hey, we're going to aim to be intimate within the next hour. Do whatever you want to do to get there, to take a shower, to take a nap, whatever that is. When the timer's there, that's our window of being intimate. That could be something to consider. Transitions, scheduling intimacy without making it feel clinical and awkward. Please.
I have some things I have read or listened to lately about,
Yeah.
especially couple strategies. Sometimes you have to figure out what time of day works best for both of you as well.
Yes.
Because often we associate sexual activity with nighttime.
Right.
But if you are two people who happen to be at home at 10 o'clock in the morning time, the kids are out of the house or whatever, that might be prime time for you to connect. And also I heard that having sex before you go out to dinner, because the dinner and the drinks and things like that kind of put you in a different state of mind, or physically you're just like, I'm bloated, I'm gassy, or I'm like, and I don't feel sexy anymore.
Right.
But say, hey, like, why don't we have a little fun before we get dressed and go out, and then that kind of also gives you that sensation and the desire that you've had. It kind of lingers through the rest of the evening as well, making the whole connection last longer, I think.
Well, plus then you're grounded during dinner because you did something beforehand. Right?
Yeah.
And then secondly, to add to that, if the person is figured out what other people want, like what you were saying, they come home and they crash, sex is off the table.
Yep.
So do it in the morning for that relationship.
There have been some studies that show that hormone levels for that are higher when you wake up.
Yes.
So
absolutely. I'm saying, I think like a third of my caseload right now is men that have some kind of erectile dysfunction, whether it's trying to conceive and the pressure that comes with that, or is midlife and testosterone has just slowly started to deplete because of age. That there's studies in terms of like that testosterone happens in a 24-hour cycle. So that's why, one, men might wake up with morning wood. You're literally waking up with it. But two, that's also a great time if there's any kind of like trying to conceive or erectile dysfunction, anything like that. Testosterone is already pretty surging in the morning. Try morning sex. Why not? Because women run on a 28-ish hormone cycle of estrogen. So keeping that in mind when working with your clients. Let's see, where else was I going with that? Communication, we talked about having some kind of script. So like the I feel when this happens and I need this. For expressing needs can be great, using humor and cues. That 1-5-10 I talked about. Reducing sensory overload during conflict or sex, making sure that maybe lights are low, there's calm music going. Anything that's going to help to not be overstimulated can be great. Anybody have any other thoughts on practical strategies that have been helpful for them? I have more slides, obviously, but anything that stick out?
The music, 528 hertz is the frequency of love.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I'm glad some people are writing it down. That's a great one. Good.
Add to Rachel, with
Please.
especially dopamine, if you're a morning workout, a lot of people don't think about this, but if they work out in the mornings, their body is craving that dopamine, right? And then your dopamine's all excited and happy and in that place. But I'm not a morning workout person. I never will be. I've tried it a million times. I'm an evening workout person.
Okay.
So I think too, when you're looking at, we talked about dopamine earlier, and you find somebody that's like excited and that partner's in the mood and those things, it also has to coincide with kind of their schedule too. And so keeping all of those things into mind, if we've got the brain really activated at that time and they are a morning workout person, then it makes sense, right?
Why not?
Why not?
Absolutely. Love it, guys. Sensory-friendly sexual strategies. This can be for anyone that's neurospicy, but also I think of anyone that's highly sensitive. That weighted blankets for grounding before being intimate is wonderful. I just sleep with one at this point because it is so happy. As soon as I get under that thing, I got it when I was much heavier, and that's fine because it feels like I've got like almost a heavy toddler on top of me at that point, and it feels so good. So weighted blankets for grounding, for helping for sleep, having lowered lighting, noise control, having slow starts, clear consent cues, use of temperature. I think that's really important. If you're really hot and sweaty, I mean, some people are into that, but I don't want to be touched if I'm sweaty and humid and disgusting. Temperature, texture, in terms of, I know there's some people that are like, we're vanilla, but we use feathers, or we're vanilla, but we use a spatula. And it's like, you got a little bit of kink in you still. But with that said, you can have a lot of fun with texture of figuring out like what's soft, and do I like something that's soft or hard, or a gentle tap or a big smack? What do I like with that? Pressure is important as well. Do you want to just like be swept up? Like I just think of Gone with the Wind, of like being swept up and carried up the stairs kind of vibe of, do you want something that's like big and intense, or you want something like gentle and sensual? But thinking about that's really important for arousal as well.
I think bedding can be a big thing too.
Yeah, tell me about bedding.
So for myself, I have some texture sensitivities, and so if the sheets are pilled or if there's not a sheet on the bed, it's not going to happen. Like I can't, if I'm going to put my skin on it, it has to, because that sensation will distract me from anything else that's going on.
Absolutely.
Well, and to add to that, the petroleum that are weaved into non-organic sheets will create anxiety, and people don't even know that's the root cause, right?
Well, that's fun.
Right, so you have to do organic sheets to bring the bedroom into a state of homeostasis.
I feel like you got a handout on that.
I have actually a whole program on that.
Of course you do. All right, we're going to talk later. That's going to be fun. I saw a hand.
So I read somewhere that for people who kind of like their mind wanders a lot during like intimacy, like they can kind of like blindfold, so they don't see what is coming next from the partner, or maybe they can like cover their ears with like headphones or something, so it's like everything is a surprise, so that way it's like they're not able to get in their heads and kind of run the mood for their time.
Yes.
Sensory
deprivation.
Yes. Beautiful mention. One, in terms of anyone neurospicy, that's really fun in terms of having the novelty. You literally don't know what's next. So that's helpful. For the people that might be overstimulated easily, it works out there to be able to just tap out for a minute and just experience. The reason I've got those little earplugs up there is that those are really great. It's not just an earplug. It's a way, I don't know all the science behind it. If I figure it out, I'll let you know. But you're able to put these in your ears and still hear everything, but it's just a bit more muted. And it is so wonderful when I've got a precious toddler having a meltdown in the car and I can't leave. My body's saying, run, get out of there. This is so bad. And I'm driving in the car and I can't leave. So I just pop those in and I'm like, oh, okay, I can still hear the tantrum. I know they're fine. I'm saying they're there. Shh, let's play Miss Rachel and we're going to be okay, because my system's able to calm. Therefore, I can help them to co-regulate and take a breather. Yeah. So I'm a big fan of having some kind of desensitizing tool. All right. So supporting, how are we on time? Ooh, we're getting close, aren't we? Yikes. Okay, I'm going to go as quick as I can. Supporting the partner without resentment, or clarifying expectations, avoiding the parent-child dynamic. I cannot stress that one enough. I hear that all the time, of being like, why won't they just do this? Maybe talk with them and have a great conversation and how to navigate this together. I can help mediate. That's some of the couples work I do. But if you're doing parent-child dynamic, you're definitely not trying to fuck them.
No.
So let's be mindful of that. Yeah. Encouraging autonomy, shared responsibility for intimacy. I'm going to do this, you're going to do this, but not in a delegating parent-child way. It's, hey, let's agree on what we're doing for this to make it happen. Compassion for brain wiring differences. When to refer. A few times. But if there's persistent conflict cycles, let me just state, if anyone's trying to send couples my way, I am such a delicate flower. I don't do high conflict couples counseling. I have a lovely neighbor literally across the suite from me that does and is obsessed with high conflict. I love that for her. Just don't send them to me. I'll just ship them next door. But if it's persistent conflict cycles over and over and over and over, sensory aversion that interferes with intimacy, trauma overlay, maybe do some EMDR, some IFS, some brain spotting, something that's going to help heal some of that so we can get to the other things going on underneath. Keeping in mind medication effects impacting sexuality, untreated anxiety, depression. Let's work on the mental health stuff, the nervous system stuff, and then we can talk about the intimate stuff. What sex therapy can offer? A lot. These are just like a few things. If you want to chat about what all I could do for your clients, let me know. But sensory mapping and figuring out erogenous zones can be really fun of like, yes, this feels good. No, this doesn't feel good. This zone is okay. This one's not. Communication coaching of how to word things, especially building up sexual confidence and sexual expression. I work with a lot of people because I'm in Forsyth County. People that are from an Indian community that are arranged marriages, immigrants, all of that. It is so fun. I see you're like, it's fascinating. But with that, in terms of having sexual expression and being told certain conservative upbringing things, that is like, how do I now do this now that I'm married? Even people that, because I'm in Forsyth County, that there's a lot of people that came from religious upbringing, conservative backgrounds, purity culture, that is, you do not do this, period, until you're married. And it's like,
and then what?
Exactly.
Where's
well, now I've got a partner and I'm married and we're trying to have kids and I don't even know how to relax myself to let something happen. What do I do? So I love all of that. Helping people with desire discrepancy, shame reduction, confidence building, mindfulness, a lot of that ties in. I also work with a lot of pelvic floor PTs, so prenatal and postpartum moms, figuring out how do I recover from all of this body trauma that just happened and make sure I feel okay and I can find my new version of my sexy self again. That's really fun too. Just because of time, I'm going to skip the case study. I'm so sorry, but timing wise, if y'all want to get where you're going, it's 12:02. So if you got to tap out, I fully understand. Yeah, absolutely. So let me see. I'm so sorry. It was some really good shit. But if anything,
Is there any way we can get? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'll send the case study. Yeah, I'll send the case study. Key takeaways: ADHD impacts connection, desire, and intimacy. It's neurological, not personal failure. There's tools, structure, education that can transform the relationships. So just maybe read up on it or even do some consults with me. And understanding the ADHD brain improves emotional safety and pleasure. So that's how to connect with me. I have business cards, all the fun things over there. Grab a pen. I have way too many. But I have had a blast talking with you guys, and thanks for having me. Any questions?
Not a question, a comment. Sorry, it takes me a while to catch up.
You're fine.
So, the famous, brilliant your envelope, the response envelope you showed earlier. I also use that. I was trying to think. Since sex, pornography, and gambling, online addictions in general are super stimuluses, right? It's just a higher spike for a longer time.
Mm-hmm.
They go into hyper, but then when they stop, they go into hypo.
Right. Yes.
And they're, my clients are 75-85% baseline. It's the same brain fog. Maybe that's why, because I'm neurospicy.
Yeah.
I thought this was, I've just recently been diagnosed. I thought this was like normal.
Well, maybe it was.
It still is. I mean, I got through Purdue. I mean, that's like, anyway, but my clients are feeling that same, when you have an addiction and all that, that's like getting out of that. And that's why the cycle is so, because they're in that low brain fog depression that they want to use again to get back up and be on that envelope again. So my work is about keeping it between, in that same way that you're keeping it between the lines so that they don't have those ups and lows and stuff like that. So I thought it was an interesting little, talking about ADHD and intimacy. I think that's why I understand them so well. Just I know that feeling.
Absolutely.
And I know I'm trying to get them out of it. Right?
Yeah.
Sorry. Is this anyone's phone? It was left in the bathroom and it has even clinics as a 1:30.
Bye. Good to see you. Yeah, sure.
Maybe it's one of our staff. She didn't want somebody to leave without it.
Okay.
I noticed one of the therapists that I worked with at one time,
Mhm.
couples therapy, introduced DBT
Yeah.
to us, right? And amazing, coincidentally, at work, the same between the green to the red and where you are and can function, right?
Yeah.
Work the next week brought out the same thing, and they were like, okay, well, if you're in these areas, if you're in this one, you need to go home. And we were like, we all need to go home.
Interesting.
And so when he was explaining all these, I was like, I don't even know what this looks like. This green area. I found out, but it took alcohol to get me to that point,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, I hear that.
But that's not sustainable.
Fair. Yeah.
But it's amazing that how many people aren't aware. I guess because I was not aware that I was living in those other zones, because that's my.
No, I hear that. Would you mind describing for people that aren't aware of that, of what the yellow and red and green, just some examples?
Okay, so green is everything's wonderful, you're happy, you're content, you can function, you can have conversations, you can be intimate, you can do all the things.
Mm-hmm.
Yellow, some of them have just ours at work has orange too, so that middle area where you might be able to do some functioning, but having deep conversations is not really on the table.
Mm-hmm.
You're still able to do your base things that have to. You're able to adult, for lack of a better word.
You're surviving.
Right. And then red is like you are out of control. It's that fight, flight, or freeze.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's where you're at.
Absolutely.
And disassociation and anger and just you can't have any kind of conversations with them.
That's red.
No, that's red.
Yeah.
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 Possibly going over into suicidal and that sort of thing. That's red, where you just are not able to function.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I love that it was color coded. That helped to be like, all right, where am I at? Ooh, I'm at a red. Bye. Time
Bye.
to go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, that's helpful. Thank you. Anybody have any other thoughts, questions?
I want to know, have you seen Sex, Love, and Goop?
Yeah, on Netflix.
What is
I
that?
have.
Sex, love, and goop?
Yeah.
Yes. So when she was talking about the different, what's it called, the 5,
Erotic blueprints.
yes,
Mhm.
they go over, I think all of those.
I think
in
they
that,
do.
in that
Yeah.
show. It was really good. My husband actually brought it up to me, and I was like, let's go to the outro. She's like kind of crunchy and kind of weird, and
Yeah.
I don't know about this. But we watched it, and I thought it was fascinating. It was really
one
good.
episode that was
Yeah, there was. Yeah,
There
the
was
family constellations therapy.
Oh, I
actually
watched
heard
it a while
that,
ago. I
That
can't
was-
remember,
that one
but
was-
It was
a little iffy.
The social worker part of me was intrigued, but very skeptical.
Okay.
But
The sexy things then.
Yes.
Yeah, but the whole rest
That-
of it was
yeah.
very interesting.
Good.
I thought it was
Se-
really good.
sex,
And
So-
she
love,
was
and
like,
goop.
"Oh, you need to watch this." And
Yes.
then I went home and I was like, "Okay, I can." And I
Yeah.
watched it in like 2 nights.
Oh,
it's not very
good.
long. It's only like
No,
6
it's
or 7
doable.
episodes.
But it was
And that's sex, love, and goop.
Yep.
yes.
Okay.
So
Netflix.
yeah, what is Paltrow's company is Goop.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's
did
why
not
it's
know
called
that. Okay.
But yeah, I found that it struck some really good conversations with me and my husband.
Good.
Of different things and things we hadn't considered, and just like him being able to identify with one of those areas and me being able to identify with a couple of those areas, and just kind of how do we
How
make
to
them
work them.
fit together?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
like give me a little bit more of this,
good.
and you can have a little bit more of that. And we'll just-
Absolutely. I wish there were more shows, documentaries, something, because it's a lot more accessible for someone to watch it on Netflix or HBO or whatever and be like, oh, watch it with my partner. And now we have a lot of material to discuss. And then sometimes I can be like, hey, I've even had couples do that, where they reach out and say, hey, we just watched that show, or Heated Rivalry, which has been so fun to watch, by the way. Heated Rivalry. Oh, we're going to talk later.
Heated?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Ooh,
Heated, right?
ooh, you want to talk about some sexy stuff? Whoa, baby. But with that, they'll watch and be like, hey, I was able to watch this, and now we know what we want to talk about in therapy. Beautiful. I love that you have material that you can go ahead and bring into the therapy realm. So that can be great. What was I going to say? It's left my brain. That's fine. Anyone have anything else?
Well,
Please.
I help people with dysregulation, right? Especially, and it kind of fell into it because that's who I was.
Fair. Yeah.
As a
We help the
child.
people that need it. Yeah.
Mimic ourselves. But in 2019, just before COVID, I created this compilation, a multimodal approach to get the body and the brain into rest and digest in like a couple minutes.
Nice.
It's it takes the whole session is 15 minutes.
Wow.
But people, when I realized how impactful it was, and I happened just to read the testimony yesterday because I was putting something together, and this gentleman call him Liam, right? He's ADD, ADHD, and in 2019, I don't really have a language for that. Okay, but he did.
Okay.
And it took him 3 weeks to reply because he didn't have a concept of peace, and he didn't, and he was trying to figure it out in his own head. Is this real? Is this Memorex? Right? You know, and so the thing is that there are so many cool, and it looks like you also do holistic. Yeah, I do too. Ways to bring people into rest and digest, and then increase that blood flow so that they can do whatever they aspire to do. And it was a divine download, right? So,
yeah.
And how to do that for people.
Cool. Yeah, we're going to chat in a minute. This is cool. Anybody have anything else before I stop recording and wrap up? We good? Okay. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you.